Afternoon, guys. We are working in the shop today, actually finishing up a project I've been working on since early January now, I think. It's my 66 IH1206 standard. Excuse me if I cough. Kind of been sick a little bit lately, and just how it is. But if you guys recall, and if you've seen on social media, this tractor had an external head gasket leak. So I pulled the head off and everything like that, and got the head rebuilt at Ultimate Machine in Phillipsburg, Kansas. I also put a new dampener on the front of the motor and a few other things. I really haven't shared this much on YouTube. Don't know why, I just really haven't. And yeah, but we've been wrenching on this thing for a little bit, and I'm just now getting ready to fire it up for the first time since the new head's been on. Now I have set all the valves. We put head studs in it instead of the original bolts. The bolts only torque down to like 130. A friend of mine in South Dakota, Jesse Peterson, Peterson Performance, does a lot of work on IH tractor stuff, sold me the studs, and we torqued these down to 190. Now, once I get this fired up, we will run it for a little bit, and then I'm gonna hopefully tomorrow hook it onto my dyno, and then run it on the dyno at varying loads for 2-ish hours, pull it back in here, pull the valve cover, retorque the head to 190, just, you know, for peace of mind, just so we make sure this thing's stuck down good, and then set the valves again, and yeah, things should be good for a while then. And after we do that, I'm gonna pull it back in the shop. Also, pull the fenders off, and this thing has big cast weights inside and out. And with my skinny little butt in the seat, it weighs 15,000 pounds. And I'm planning on hauling this thing to Half Century of Progress in August, and I'd like it to be a few pounds lighter. It'd be nice if I could get it down around 12,000. Hopefully, is kind of the goal here. But I got battery cable hooked up. I started bleeding fuel. I'm gonna crack some injectors here. Probably I can get to 4, 5, and 6 pretty easy, but with the turbo and everything here, I can't really get to 1, 2, and 3. So I think we're gonna bleed out 4, 5, and 6, and then pull this thing out of the shop and just let it sit there and idle and run for a little while, and then maybe go feed cows, do some other stuff. And I need to go walk over and look at a different project we're working on, and I can show that one to you. It's kind of cool. But for now, I am going to set you guys up over here somewhere and start bleeding injectors. No fuel yet. We got fuel, we got smoke. We're gonna tighten injectors back up. I got fuel on at least 4 of these, so that should be good enough to get us rolling, I hope. Making noises I don't love. I dicked around a while and letting Rob some washers. I had three lines leaking. 2 of them were definitely causing a miss. But we're running good now. I'm not dripping any diesel. So yeah, I let that cover off there in case I need to adjust timing any. It's all going to be back in here fairly shortly to get fenders pulled and sheet metal back on the rest of the way, but definitely no longer has a miss, which is great. Still a little blue haze, whatever, but yeah, I also on this drilled out all the way through on that and the clevis up there and put bushings in and new pins to tighten this pig up some. I see we're dripping a little antifreeze, maybe. Yeah. Antifreeze. But that could just be dripping off the frame rails or whatever. I kind of made a mess filling. I don't see anything leaking there. The only thing that could be leaking would be the water pump. Oh, I got a leaky connection. It's like that gasket there. I put on new. Already failed. Whoopee. Damn it. I tightened that up, it's just a drip. We're gonna let that make a mess for a minute. I wanna see how my new steering components go and get this out of the shop. I just love this thing, it looks so damn good. I don't think that's an active leak there. That's just where I made a mess. Filling up. No more diesel spraying. No more miss. I do have a spare gasket for that leak there, so I'll get that corrected before we run it on the dyno. So, not a big deal, just it happened. But she sounds good. Kind of waiting for that water temp starting to come up. I'd like to get it up to temp here. Thing idles and gets some heat in itself. It's probably been running a half hour now. Sounds fine, everything's good. No real concerns there. We'll get it hooked to the dyno tomorrow and put a couple hours worth of work on it. Then we'll pull that and this pipe here and maybe the air filter housing and retorque the head. But I think we're good there. But we're going to talk about this now. You guys have seen my 1370 case a few times now. But I picked, excuse me, I picked this Crustbuster drill up sometime in the middle of harvest last fall. I think it was right after harvest. Pretty nice little hoe drill. It is 10-inch spacing drill. It's a spring style hose, the preferred style, so that is great. Obviously ground drive, driven off the press wheels, but this size of drill is a little bit harder to find, just because most guys were wanting 30-foot or bigger in its era. But perfect drill for a lot of our small patches. So we're going to use it to do oats and feed, whatever the hell else. But for some odd reason, this thing's set up to run off 3 remotes. One is obviously for folding this guy, that's this big cylinder here, long cylinder. And it's got another set of remotes to run the wing wheels. And then the final remote runs the center lift. Now I understand, reading the book about this, that the reason they did the wings separate from the center was for kind of like point row control, or you know, row shut off more or less on the new planters. But with that, your wing here, this wing would be tipped up separate from the center, which does, I mean, that tweaks the frame fronting and does some other stuff. So kind of the intention here is to just take these lines here and set a T outlet, get across right there, and hook all 3 lines together, and just so it's one remote to lift the whole damn drill, because I don't really need point row control for this little drill at all. That's kind of what we're working with, and we'll probably pull it with the old case here. It's pretty good at stuff like that. But nice little drill. These are pretty simple little drills. Not much to them, really. This guy was nice enough to even write his rates down. I still need to get it set up to drill wheat, but or to drill oats with the settings set. But on these, you adjust there's a slot you adjust in here, not so much the spline flutes like other drills, but so we're kind of working on here. We'll get her ready to go. I've got at least a couple weeks before it's time to drill oats. The snow is melted, as you can see, but we're getting closer. Middle of March is a good time to do it. So time to work on this guy some and get it ready to go. We still have that John Deere 20-foot set of hoe drills, and we'll use those too, but wanted something a little bit more portable to run around with, and this was like 600 bucks, so kind of hard to say no, and I just hooked it on the pickup and pulled it home. It was Eustis, Nebraska, maybe is where it was at, I think. But yeah, she's a cute little sucker. Not sure why that shank rubs the tire, but it kind of does. But I suppose when the drill is down, it's not going to rub, so whatever. But 3 remotes is just a little too many for what this is, so we're going to get that all changed over. But for now, I think we're going to call this a day. I'll come back tomorrow and fix my oil leak and hook the 1206 up to the dyno, and we'll put some time on it. Well guys, it's a lovely 35 degrees out this morning. Pretty nice morning, really, a little bit of a cool breeze. But got the 1206 out. It's hooked onto the dyno this morning here. I got my oil leak fixed, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything funky, so that is excellent. Dyno's sitting here running, warming up. Been running it for a little while just to warm it up. We're going to take this thing up to about 300 PTO RPM if we can. Load it a little bit. here for the next couple hours to kind of monitor this thing and vary load. And we'll eventually load it down fully, but we're just gonna let this new head gonna break itself in and get it up to temp good. Kind of let those head studs do their thing. And when we're done, I'll pull it back in the shop here in a couple hours and retorque the whole head.
And reset valve blast. And that'll be it. We're just gonna listen to this thing sit here and hum and kind of watch gauges.
That's wide open, partial load, if you can hear it.
I kind of slowly worked it up to full throttle. That was about, 2/3 load there at full throttle. Wasn't working it real hard. We'll bring it down to idle for a while. We'll go take some hydraulic connections off a drill, I would say. So far so good. Couple minor leaks, no big deal. Just one more oil checker things. Got the water nice and warm. It was creeping up on 160 degrees there, 170 degrees. Water was steaming as it was running on. We're doing good. Let's go take some stuff off the grill.
That's full throttle, about 75% load. Slowly bring it down in RPM and I'm gonna drive it right back in the shop, pull the valve cover off and a couple other pieces, and we'll retorque to 180 and then 190 again just to make sure everything's down and tight, and reset valve lash. Intake is 0.013 and exhaust is 0.025. We'll make sure that's all within spec, and then yeah, that's it on this thing. Mechanically, we got to put all the sheet metal back on the hood, and then I'm going to pull fenders off and start yanking weight off. And that's actually when the real workout starts. I'll get my truck with the crane out here once the fenders are off. We'll pull the wheels and tires off each side, and then take the outside weights off, and then we'll set the outside weights down on the axle axle housing, slide them in as far as we can get them towards the rear end. And then I gotta get the special horseshoe tool in there and try to break that wheel casting loose, pull the wheel casting off, pull the weight off, and then put everything back together. And then I've got, I think, 4 or 6 of the Wheatland standard style IH wheel weights for this thing, and we'll put those on it. And probably run it to town once I'm done and re-weigh the tractor. I know it weighed like 15,000 with me in the seat, and I think we'd be close to 13 with that configuration. And I would like to, I ought to just set all the weights I take off on a pallet and take them to town and weigh them on a pickup. So we'll see. We'll cool it down. Okay, let's tear in. I'm gonna move this guy. Okay, motor is all retorqued. Had a couple that turned maybe 2 or 3 degrees and then clicked. No big deal. It's not unexpected. That's why we came back and torqued this stuff. Now I'm going to roll the motor over to top dead center. Doesn't really matter if it's top dead center on, I just roll over top dead center. If these two aren't loose, then I'll do the opposite side, opposite valve lash, if that makes sense. You can do valve lash in 2 rotations. You don't have to go through and find TDC on every single cylinder to set valve lash. You can just do it pretty quick. So we're gonna roll this thing over to TDC. I will get my valve lash stuff out and we'll get this thing set. got all the parts tracked down for the hydraulics on this drill to get it all teed into one remote for lift on it.
Was a little fun finding a cross to do all this stuff, but we got it. It's all sorted out now. So the next thing to do is just fire up the tractor and test this out. I do somewhat question if I got all these hoses going the right direction, which it's easily corrected. I just swap hoses around on the cylinders. It's just sometimes you just don't know. But we're gonna fire the tractor up here in a second and see if this all lifts right.
Pretty good starting tractor. It's like 40 degrees.
I think we're good. I gotta go take a, I think I saw everything move that needed to move here. We gotta go move a pin around. I think it's this one. I'll get back to you.
Just as I suspected, I got the hoses backwards on that guy. So we'll swap that around real quick. And be good to go, I think, here. Okay, I believe I've got that corrected now. So we'll crawl up on the tractor, fire it up again, and see what we got. Should hopefully just... I gotta go pull the stop out of the center cylinder. Looks like I don't think I'm leaking any hydraulic fluid anymore. Put you guys down here. Need to get a different size pin for this. That doesn't really work. The proper pin.
Okay. We'll raise this thing up and down a few times, see what we got.
Looks like the center section is going to be a little slow, but I think we'll be okay there for what we're doing. We're not doing a ton of acres with this thing, but
At least now it's all on the same lift. I do need to get either this tractor converted completely to Pioneer remotes or get adapters from Pioneer to case. But that's pretty slick. Need to figure out where I'm leaking from there. If it's where I just did my hose connections or it's just leaking from where I just took it apart. But
hey, progress, right? Okay, now that that drilling stuff is together over there, it's time to start in on this bigger old weight loss program. Said it's got big cast weights outside. These are 750 to 1,000 pounds. And then the same thing on the inside that are 750 to 1,000 pounds. And I'd like to lose a lot of that weight. But these 1206s and such are wedge lock wheels. So I gotta get that wedge apart. And Lord only knows the last time it was apart. And they make a tool for these. It's shaped like a horseshoe. It's goes in and sets around inside the wheel, and I'll show you better when we get there. But it basically lets you back one side of the wedge out up against the tool. That way it has something to hold against, and then it backs the other side out. And so it can be a little rough to get loose, but that's what we're going for. But the biggest issue I have here is I can't get the tool in because it needs to go in there. So best plan I can figure out, and I might end up having to pull the fenders, but I'll take the wheel and tire off, and then I'll actually have room to get myself in and around this thing. We're gonna take the bolts loose on the weights, take the outside weight off, and then slide the inside weight here towards the tractor. And then I should have room to get the tool in there. And then I'll have to pull the whole cast center here off the tractor. And from there, reassemble everything. But that's about the best way I've figured out to make this thing lose a hell of a lot of weight. So the only thing to do is start in taking these wheel bolts here loose. So that's what we're gonna do. Well, I got all the bolts loose. Not a real great place to get at them. I have to crawl down in right here and work that way with the old Milwaukee impact. It was a little bit of work, not gonna lie. But I'm gonna set you guys up while I try to get this wheel off here. Once I get it slid off the cast center, I'll go get the loader tractor and move the tire and wheel out of the way. But trying to be delicate here. Delicate's a loose term. There we go. I am off. I'm gonna grab the loader and we'll walk that sucker out of there. Okay, as you saw, tire and wheel came off. Next step is to get rid of these big girls. grab an impact and wrench and buzz these loose, and then we'll take the outside weight off, so get a big bar out, slide that sucker in as far as we can get it. Hopefully I can have room to get the tool inside, and I should. Yeah, I don't need a ton of room to get the tool in there. If I can get that much room to get my hand in there and get the tool on, then we'll be in good shape. So impact, and we will buzz. Weights off now. It's a long bolt. There is a chance there's a grease zerk on top of the axle down in there. I don't exactly know how I'm going to save it, because this is going to fall and I can't get anything in underneath it. Yeah, there is a grease zerk there. Hopefully there's enough room for it, but no guarantees. Okay. Chaining it up just to make sure it definitely comes with me here. Okay, time to install the tool. I think I'll set you guys here, you can watch, and then we'll talk about it once it's up on there. So, like I said, tool allows you, this wedge here, it's got ramps on both sides, and this nut squeezes it together to lock the whole cast center in place. So now I got to put a 7/8 12-point socket on there and get this sucker backed off, and I probably have to beat on the axle somehow, some way, and there's not a real good way to do that. So this could get pretty rough, unfortunately, but thankfully Dry Climate Tractor helps this situation. I should get some PB Blaster and spray this down too. We might get lucky today, and this might not be a total pain. Nope, we're at pain. That's where I need a hammer. There we go, one of the wedges just popped loose. I'd assume it to be the inside one. It's going to spin it all the way back. It's the outside wedge, actually. I'll come show you here in a second. This wedge, as you can see, is loose, and as I back this thing up, it's pushing it up against this tool. So once it gets up against the tool here, we'll get to fight again and get to break the inside wedge loose, and then I can take that cast center down off. Working pretty hard at it. We're actually bending the tool away, which isn't uncommon. I'm gonna take a hammer and tap right there, see if we can jar it and maybe break that inside wedge loose. There she went. I would like to maybe narrow this thing up just a little on the back end here. I know I've got like a fist's worth of room here on the tractor. Don't want to narrow it up a lot, but it'd be nice to have a little bit narrower just for hauling and whatnot. Currently, the axle stick out is like 3/4 of an inch, so not a lot. And our current gap is about 4.5. I could probably bring that down to about 3. It's still have room to work inside the back wheel, so I think we'll slide that cast center in 1.5 inches further than it was when I took it off. So what do I, 1.5 inches further plus 1.5 plus 3/4, I think's what I said. Yeah, 1.5 and 3/4 is 3.25 is where we want to be. 1.5, 3/4, 2.25. Geez, so we're about right, actually right there. So we need to come back towards me. Just, that was a little much. About 2.25, about right there. So I'll get this wheel locked back down, and I'll show you guys these wedges now that I've got them off wherever the heck I laid them down. There's one part of it. Now where did I set the other half? This is the problem with working with me. Parts get scattered everywhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, here's your 2 halves. So you can see this is tapered ever so slightly, so it pulls, when you tighten these things up, it pulls that casting tight against the axle. It just puts it all in tension really tight. So that's the name of the game. So we're gonna get that tightened back. On there, sure looks different without those big cast center weight or cast weights on there. Need to throw a couple on a pallet and take them to town and see what they weigh, besides the fact that they're heavy. Tires squatting less, that's for sure. And we're down. Okay. Well, that looks pretty good. Slid it in just a little, not a lot. Just trying to get it narrowed up a little bit more to haul. Not that it wasn't over 102 inches, which is kind of the restriction, but it was plenty wide. That's how much we got over here sticking out. And we got a little more over there, but
here before too long. So if you look, like that's a 3-finger. That's over a 5th. That's a 5-finger. So yeah, just slid it in a little, make it more manageable. Not that it really matters a ton, but that's looking better. I'll come back out after I eat lunch, get this other side knocked off. Probably won't show that on video. And then hopefully pull it back in the shop and start hanging sheet metal again. And it weighed 770 pounds. With 4 of them, that adds up to 3,120 pounds on the rear of this 1206. A couple years ago, I ran it across the scale and it was like 14,520, I believe. And now with all that weight off, we're like 11,400 pounds. And that's still with a full rack of weights on the front. So good diet for it. It'll be a hell of a lot lighter to haul. I do plan to put 4 or 6 of the standard style wheel weights on the back of this, which are kind of a specific weight. I had to go get a different tool. That was very abusive. That wedge on this side did not want to come loose at all, and I started bending these. So I'm gonna have to get on McMaster car, see if I can come up with a bolt or 4 like that. Whoops. But we're gonna fire this girl up, drive it back in the shop now, and get her dressed. Time to put all the sheet metal back on. That's it. About done here, thankfully. It's like 60 degrees out, so it's not having to work too hard to start. Not like it's cold at all. And that's why I love this thing. Well, it's in. I think I'm gonna close that door and we're gonna start hanging sheet metal. Good stuff. And once again, she's in full dress for the first time in a while. And fully operational for the first time in like a year and a half. So, take her for a spin. It's time.
There she is, back together. I love that front tire combination. Looks beefy now. I mean, real beefy. Needs a good bath. Excuse me, good bath and a good service. Oil change, things like that now, just from, you never know what kind of contamination got down there. But back together, we'll get wheel weights on it sometime. It does have the Vice Grip Garage clear coat on it. It has definitely dried out some. It's not so visible now, and I probably will give it another coat of that stuff at some point in time. But she's looking good, running good, sounding good. 3,100 pounds lighter. I am excited to have this one back. We're gonna have to hook it onto some drills or some tillage tool. Put it back to work this spring. But damn, it's nice to have this one back together. It has been a long time coming to get this guy ready to go again. A lot of money and time and just saving up money and parts and things like that. But she's back together. And with that, that will be the end of this video. Thanks for watching this one. It's probably going to be a long video just because there's a lot of parts getting this thing back together and, you know, working on that case and drill. But that'll be it for this one. Please like, share, subscribe. I'm on all the social medias as @TeamMontyIH. My website is territorialtrading.com. Thanks again for tuning in. Go drag something out of the weeds and get it running.